Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today, we're picking up Alan Gilbreth from police headquarters, where he was brought in for questioning regarding his horrifyingly accurate Willy's Wonderland Halloween yard decorations. I don't know, Alan, you never do things by half measures. I think the blood bathtub was a little much, and
I don't know.
Footprints.
People have no imagination anymore.
Yeah, I think they were just kind of curious where you procured all of your decorations
and why some were still moving, whether they were plugged in or not.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully, nothing bad's going to come of this. But anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass, and we're not going to sugarcoat this. Brandon is not here. And I don't know, does this count as shirking his duties? Let's face it, Halloween is that's his holiday. You and him, this is basically what you live for. And he is out getting ready for the big annual Halloween party that they do. Yes. This is a big production, and it takes them all day to get ready.
It does. And it's a full moon tonight.
So go figure. So he's not here. He's out decorating. I mean, I guess we can't fault him. He's doing something that he cares about.
He has followed his heart today.
So, and we should mention, too, we're only a week and a half away from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, so we'll probably have some updates about that. Maybe some things you want to know before you head over there, important information. But, Max, this is an anniversary weekend coming up, and it's really noteworthy, and especially to people in radio.
Well, on October 30th, 1938, we celebrate the anniversary of the infamous Orson Wells broadcast.
Infamous.
I mean, what an amazing bit of radio production.
You wonder what that did to the history of radio in terms of what did it do? Because let's face it, I mean, and we're just going to assume most people are familiar with that. What an interesting slice of history. And of course, there's conflicting information. I've heard that there wasn't as big of a panic as, maybe they made out. But then there's other sectors, they say, yeah, it caused all sorts of havoc and stuff. But it was all based on the theater of the mind and the great job they did in that broadcast. So
it was, it was a perfect storm of new technologies, old ideas, and good old-fashioned psychology. Because when you look at the time, radio wasn't all that familiar yet. This was
a fairly new medium.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't brand new, but it was the mass medium. This was how everybody was there. Television wasn't, ubiquitous yet. Mm-hmm. So we weren't really used to the idea of mainstream broadcast fiction.
I mean, it's theater. We talk about theater of the mind. It is audio theater out there, and I mean, I feel like it had to have influenced a lot of things too. When they saw when certain artists and people saw the power of what happened in that broadcast, they're like, maybe this medium isn't. Maybe it's worth looking into. And maybe people like Jack Benny took notice, and they said, "Hey, look what we can do." Yeah.
Well, and because this broadcast hit just kind of at a magic time in history, you had a certain level of paranoia. We'd already been through a world war. We now had this new technology that everybody had access to. And you also had a perfect storm of talent.
Right.
You had people in this theater that were there to put on the show, not a show. They had one shot at this. They were going for it. They had adapted a relatively popular book. And at the time of astronomy was also kind of a hot thing.
Don't forget, it wasn't that long ago that Hubble suddenly said, no, we're not just one galaxy. There's billions of galaxies out there. That's new information that was in the zeitgeist. So,
I mean, you kind of got to look at the thing not just as one night, but kind of as in its place in history. And this was the night that Orson Wells managed to call down the lightning. They began this broadcast And there's just something about his voice.
He's got a great voice. And he's very theatrical anyway.
It's authoritative. It was very storytelling. And they weren't, they did come out at the beginning of this and like every other radio show and go, hey, welcome to the show. This is a radio production, blah, They
gave their disclaimer at the beginning, but a lot of people
didn't turn
they missed
in
it.
Then, right.
Yeah.
It's like anything else. Word of mouth spreads like wildfire. And it began with have you heard this? Hey, Bob, turn on your radio. So Bob turns on his radio, and then, it began to spread like that. And some people knew it was a show, and there were other people that word of mouth into it that didn't necessarily know that it was a show. So certain places did have a reaction that this might be real.
This is before we had let's just text a picture to show that it's actually fake.
Right.
It's not actually going on in New Jersey.
Right. There's no Scopes, website or something to go check out. So
this is before television too. You couldn't have a camera crew show up and say, "Okay, this is whatever."
This was people sitting around actually going, "Well, it's on the radio. Is this actually happening?
Right.
Is this real?" And then you had a few people that went and said, "Well, we need to go check this out." You had a few people that overreacted. You had, like anything else, you had things begin. And as a funny thing, even here in Memphis, of about 15 years ago, one of the local radio stations did a similar localized broadcast and had to interrupt themselves going, folks, we're just playing.
Right. Just in case.
People were listening.
Right. But the thing about this, too, is it's not just, we're talking about Orson Wells. He had a whole team of actors. And you were saying, Foley artist, that's a sound effect artist. That's where they take a saw and they make it sound, they wiggle it and make it sound like a laser beam or something. Well, they had Foley artists and they had all sorts of technical people doing some pretty magical things. So we're going to talk about that when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Fun fact, the Submariner's house doesn't have bathrooms. The Geek Patrol is back.
Yeah, don't go there after a party either, man.
All right, that just hit me weird.
When they're entertaining the Atlanteans, man, stay clear of that place.
Just don't be downstream.
Wow. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And thankfully, not Brandon Olmsted, because he'd probably throw the microphone across the room at that one. He's out on, I'm not even calling it assignment. He's out.
He's on Halloween duty.
He's playing hooky. He's out getting ready for his big annual Halloween party. So
he's throwing
good for you,
down
Brandon. Whatever. Hey, it's an interesting anniversary weekend, and we're talking about it because we love radio, but we love this was a cultural event. This was a seismic event in the history of radio. The anniversary of the War of the Worlds broadcast that Orson Wells directed, and he performed in it. But really, it was a team effort, and it really demonstrated the power of radio and audio theater, which is such a, I am just a big fan of audio theater. When you listen to some of those old The Shadow or something.
Oh, yes.
Audio done properly is probably the most engaging form of media, I would have to say, because you're filling it in with your imagination and you have to pay attention to every word. And then when it's well done like this, you're riveted. And it was brought about by a lot of art and a lot of out-of-the-box thinking. And, Allan, am I correct? They didn't have a delay in those days.
No.
This was as live. You're playing with live ammunition here, man. And so if you mess up, if somebody giggles, if somebody forgets what they're supposed to say, it blows the whole effect. But they pulled it off, man.
I'm just remembering hearing stories about this, and it's an hour till go time, and they still hadn't figured out all the gaffes. They were still.
Think of the sound effects. They had to make it sound like a spaceship was coming in. They had to make gunfire. I mean, well, gunfire, you could, but they had to make it sound like it's...
The easy stuff was dirt and things hitting or horses' hooves.
Or not only that, too, but like looking at like the stills of like images of the Mercury Theater where it happened, they had an orchestra pit, basically. They had a mini orchestra.
Yeah.
I just hit a button and music comes up. These guys had to like conduct their music on their own.
At the right volume, and they had to modulate everything, and they had to... I mean, when you listen... And especially like you listen to some of the guys that they're reporting and they're sounding terrified, and they had to have this echoing background thing. I mean, I don't know what the control board looked like at that Mercury Theater and the level.
The control board was a nail board.
Man.
It was a giant. All right,
this is just rough and ready stuff, man.
I look over at Max and go, "You have technological luxury."
Right.
The control board to this thing would electrocute you. Huge slide knobs, big levers. The board alone looked like something out of a Frankenstein movie where you would scream, "It lives."
I mean,
now
it's sort of daunting when you just think the fact that he was able to talk people into doing this. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, the production value on this.
And the sound that sold this whole show really came down to one event where they didn't have anything to say, but the cylinder had to open.
Okay, there's a spaceship that they say there's something opening. Is that what it was?
It's a rock. A rock from space is there. It's a meteor. They're all gathered around it. But you really had to now convert from, hey, look, a rock fell out of space, and we're all sitting here looking at it, to we're probably all going to die.
Right.
And
you don't want to get too close.
Right. We had to totally change this from a news report to the War of the Worlds. And the one effect that they came down to it, the linchpin of this whole production, was the cylinder, the thing laying in the bottom of the pit. A spot on it has to begin to unscrew.
Right.
And that is the point where everybody on Earth, everybody gathered, now knows this came from somewhere else.
Right.
So,
I mean, this is the big moment.
How would you like to be operating under that pressure? You got
so your sound effect has to sound legit.
If this thing sounds like a squeaky clown car wheel,
right,
the whole rest of the production is just going to be, So you wound up with a sound guy and a giant pickle jar running down the hallway with a microphone in his hand to be in the toilet with the pickle jar down in the porcelain with a microphone literally wrapped around his neck, dangling in the toilet.
That's how they got that echoey effect.
Waiting for the cue to open the cylinder. And it was a big rusty jar. And he slowly began grinding that open in the toilet.
I mean...
And it created a sound like nothing anyone had ever heard before. If you hear the original broadcast of this, this is the most gut-wrenching, grinding, oh my gosh, we are all so dead sound you have ever heard.
You know what I'm thinking about? We've seen War of the Worlds movies about War of the story, but why haven't we seen have they ever made this is made for like Netflix, the actual making of this theater? I'd like to watch something like that.
That movie came out about 20 years ago.
I need to find that one.
We'll find it for you.
Wasn't it on PBS?
Yes.
That sounds interesting.
And it was amazing to watch them work with, and keep in mind, these weren't sexy little microphones like we have now.
No, these are giant.
These are big, giant RCA chunkers.
Right.
And could you
probably weigh like 30 pounds
10,
or
15 pounds. You imagine running into the hall with one of these things? I'm just like, the end effect, though, was so dramatic that people that didn't hear the disclaimers actually sat there and went, is this happening?
You know what this reminds me of? This could be a precursor to things like the Spinal Tap or, like
precursor
the
to everything,
mockumentary,
yes.
the whole whatever. I mean, think of all the influence. Think of and it
This
reached,
one broadcast.
It was pretty much worldwide news, I think, too.
Yes,
So,
this one broadcast.
So hats off to everybody involved in that. And that is a fascinating rabbit hole to go down.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, really, radio history. So that was a good one, Max. All right. Well, I don't know if we're making radio history here or not, but we're trying. You're listening to Geek Tank Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Pee Wee Herman burned Max the producer's fan letters. The Geek Patrol is back.
Are we sure we want to do that one, Max? Are you sure you want to mention? Okay. Is that in good taste? I don't know. All right, whatever. That's a moment of history, I guess. All right. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Allan Gilbreth and the tasteless Max over there behind the glass, and not Brandon Olmstead. He's out getting ready for Halloween.
He is.
He couldn't be bothered to come in today. So if you're just tuning in, we had a really interesting conversation about the anniversary of the War of the Worlds broadcast from October 30th, 1938. What a landmark thing and a fascinating piece of radio history. Just it's well worth a visit on YouTube. And I'm going to have to look up that movie. You said they made a full movie about that on PBS. I want to check that out. That sounds very interesting. So, well, it is that time. It's spooky season, Alan, and I know this is your favorite time of year. It's funny. What's the Halloween store that pops up once a year? Why can't I think of it?
There are actually several of them. There's
Spirit Halloween.
Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
There's a Spirit Halloween about 6 blocks from my house, and I drove by it yesterday, and there was literally a line out the door. They were letting only so all these people that procrastinated and waited till the last minute, but boy, that place is just printing money. I mean, people are, but it's fun. But man, when you walk in, because I did do some shopping in there, technology in Halloween has sure changed. I'd have to say it's improved a lot from what we grew up with. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Halloween tech. And
well, you grew up with a costume that you'd have died in if you'd gotten near a flame.
the plastic mask.
The
and,
plastic with the clay
just
colors.
stupid looking, too.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Halloween tech is, I don't know, it's pretty much the bomb these days.
It's almost too accurate. There was some animatronic, I don't know, old banshee lady that this little kid walked by and it activated, and I thought that kid was he's probably traumatized for life now.
Yeah, he's going to need some therapy.
Yeah.
We got, welcome to 12-foot skeletons, werewolves that talk, things that move. I have some wonderful, wonderful hourglasses from a couple of years ago that, are, all creepy and spidery and.
Talking about the talking ones?
Yeah. I've actually
they sell those at the big box store.
Well, I actually just have some normal hourglasses that are just all Addams Family looking and creepy.
I hope you don't put those outside for the. I mean,
those are for me.
Okay, I was going to say.
Those are in the lab, Joe.
But
so we got motion, and the other thing is skeleton tech alone. They're cracking me up. We got skeletons of everything. We got skeletons of mermaids, werewolves, dogs, cats, and what cracks me up, walk through a big box store, and they've got the big giant display of bags of basically human skeletons.
Right, your leftover.
It's too funny.
I want to see them be able to make like a life-size replica of a Titan for a Halloween display.
Well, they're probably coming.
Sure
I'm sure if you go to Japan, they have those. So,
and I would like to apologize to the cashier at a not big box store.
I know what
from
this
a
is.
few weeks ago.
Right.
I about made the poor woman jump clear out of the cashier booth when I picked up and put the large bag of rats.
Yeah, the
on
old
the
rat
counter.
story. Yep.
And just blunk, there you go. Well, it happens every year. You got to replace these things. And it's, warn your cashiers what you have in stock.
Okay, why do you have to, do these things wear out? How much wear and tear are your plastic rats
People
getting?
keep them.
Okay.
I don't know
You
why.
travel in
I
weird
lose
circles.
rats, man.
Okay. The thing to me that I can't figure out is because they make like these inflatable decorations, which are great because they collapse. You can put them away up in your attic. The thing I can't figure out are these now, like you said, 12 or 15 foot tall skeletons.
Yes.
They look cool, but where are you supposed to put them the rest of the year? I mean, unless you're like Brandon and you just leave it there all year.
Well,
you
Brandon just changes the
Santa
decorations
hat on top.
it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Brandon just changes out the decorations.
But honest, what do you do with though? I mean, that does not seem
it's
practical
big.
at all.
Yeah, it folds up though. It folds up surprisingly small. You can get it in the chest.
I don't know. I can't see filling up your garage, But then there's people that it makes an impact. I have to say, of all the decorations I've seen, that one, and then a lot of the portable laser lights are kind of cool. Like you can have a light pointed at your house, and it'll make
all
your house look like it's covered in spider
yeah.
webs or something.
Well,
I like the portability thing.
Well, the best one I've seen so far is somebody combining all three. They've got the cool lighting, they've got all the traditional Halloween trappings, and then I've seen probably 10 different full action scenes done with skeletons.
Yeah.
I've seen a circus. I've seen skeletons attacking a house. I've seen, oh my gosh, so much.
I would still like to kind of rebut that. And I like the idea still of keeping it simple. It's like, yes, we have all these like complicated technology and everything, but I like the idea of, you use simple mediums, but you tell an effective story. I'm still reminded of that one story that Allan told a while back about like a yard full of dolls that looked like they are dragging a dead body in a bag.
Yes.
Now that I've seen pictures of that. Why are dolls so creepy? Because that was a great one. They're all just out there. I mean, they're tiny. They're a foot tall,
yeah.
and yet they're freaked out.
Oh my gosh, you will pull over, take a picture, and stare at that thing for a while.
Yeah,
It's
the creepy doll yard.
Yeah, if you don't know where it is, it's out towards Arlington.
That was a cool. Yeah, they had like a body bag or something. But there's a lot of at the big box store. That's a hot trend right now. Doll, like there's one. I saw a zombie baby.
Yeah,
that's a little. I don't know. It was unpleasant to look at. I'm like, I don't know, but sometimes they get a little carried away.
Yeah, welcome to Halloween tech, y'all. It's more about. It's not just about the candy anymore.
Yeah, but then again, I don't know. With the internet and everything, I feel like they've ramped it up because now you can do your yard art and post it all over the world.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's going to get shared. So it's like part of it is just friendly competition for your neighborhood. Some of it is just full on, market. You're going to make money off of that, I suppose.
Full on marketing, baby. Yeah,
but
it's a thing.
I don't know. It's fun. I mean, Halloween to me is still it's still one of those holidays that's maintained its spirit. Like Christmas has just gone commercial. It's totally ruined. But Halloween still, it
has a certain level of mischief to it.
Right. And it is, we've said this, October is probably our favorite month of the year, and I don't know what it is. You feel more alive. You feel like...
It's not as hot. Summer's over, and everything is harvestable and ripe.
And there's a lot going on, so... All right. We're going to I have something else we're going to bring up, but we'll do that when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Drop the racing form and step away from the TARDIS. The Geek Patrol is back.
I've tried that. It doesn't really work like they say. So one little slip in the timeline and it's...
Next thing you know, the horse is lame.
Exactly. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And Brandon will be in next week if he recovers from his epic Halloween party, which is where he's at right now. He's doing his preparation for it.
I think he just got trapped in the TARDIS.
Who knows? His priorities are his priorities. He'd rather... I know it's a once-a-year thing. And
He's
it's a big,
totally down with Halloween, man. It's all right.
Yeah. So if you're just tuning in, boy, we've talked about quite a bit today. It's October 30th is a really noteworthy anniversary of the broadcast of the War of the Worlds in 1938 that Orson Wells put together, and what a awesome moment in radio history, and really the ripple effect from that. And I just have to believe it influenced a lot of people. Who knows? Like I said, there might have been a young Jack Benny out there. There might have been a young, who knows, think of some great radio people that were inspired to, follow in the footsteps there. So we were talking a little bit about funny Halloween decorations and everything. But let's face it, Allan, we're a week and a half away from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. So if I didn't work in some shameless promotion on that, I wouldn't be doing my job. However, in fairness, this year we are partnered. We're partnered up with all of the Cumulus sister stations.
Excellent.
They're going to be there. They're going to be, I think they're doing giveaways on some of the stations. We got to get Danny Bruns over there.
I'll work on it.
Yeah, she you visit with her every Friday morning, right, for Nerding Out at 9. So we gotta get her, because the thing about her is she acts as if she couldn't care less about any of this stuff, but in her own way, she's the biggest geek out there. You
up
talk
on
about
it.
a costumer and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can't fool us, Danny. So, but anyway, November 10th through 12th is the 13th annual Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. Is that going to be a problem? It's the 13th annual. I don't know.
I don't know.
If it wasn't for COVID, it would be the 14th annual. So I don't know. We lost a year in 2020, but hopefully 13 won't be an unlucky number for us. But we're really excited because we're in a bigger venue this year. The University of Memphis is a great location. It's right there on Central Avenue. Lots of parking, plenty.
Very true.
The ballroom is huge. So we got lots of all of our staple activities are back. We've got a huge video gaming tournament going on. Some pretty awesome prizes with that. And pretty much we're going to be going from morning till midnight. It's going to go all day. The vendor room is awesome. That's where you can, if you're new to conventions, the shopping experience alone is worth
You'll
the
be
trip.
the hero of Christmas.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not that. I mean, it's perfect time to start thinking about Christmas shopping too. You get there, you get that one of a kind item. And Alan, there is just something about, and I also should say, if you're a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000, Jonah Ray is going to be there. He's the new host of Mystery Science Theater. What a nice guy. We met him a couple years ago. Very down to earth. He's very fan friendly. And the thing I like about Jonah, he brings the swag. This guy's selling records, gadgets, autographs, photos. He brings it all. He's a super nice guy, and he's really good with the fans. People love him. So if you're a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000, or he's involved in quite a bit. He's also a stand-up comedian. He's involved. He has his hands in a lot of other projects. He did kind of a cameo in that. Remember that Weird Al Yankovic quote unquote documentary, but with Daniel Radcliffe. That was fun. He's in that. So. But Alan, you've been in the convention game a lot longer than I have. You have your own. But there's an undeniable energy about. There's a lot of people listening that probably have never been to a geek convention. How do we get them over the fence? Because once you go, I promise you're going to be hooked.
Well,
and it's not what you probably think it is.
Halloween is the perfect segue.
Yeah,
because Halloween's a holiday designed to dress up, have a little fun, eat a little too much, run around, be a little silly. All right, well, take that exact same spirit, and now let's add a theme to it. There is a convention for almost anything you are into. If you're into snakes, there are snake conventions. If
Really?
you're into,
Okay.
I'm dead serious. There's one here in Memphis 2 weeks ago. If you're into rabbits, there are rabbit conventions. These conventions that we're talking about with Memphis Comic and Fantasy and the other related conventions here in town, these are pop culture, mainstream. If you've ever seen a Marvel movie or a DC movie, or you like anime, or you're into cartoons, these are your people. And these are people from every possible walk of life that would love to have a discussion with you over, and I'm just going to put insert topic here.
Oh yeah, if you want to talk about the philosophy of Star Trek or the whatever,
If you want to get into ancient Sumerian religions, I promise you, there is somebody there that is going to want to talk about it, and then give you 3 movie references as to how these movies are related to it.
And there's a something I've seen this 1,000 times. You get that family, or you just get that couple, like the young couple that they come in and they've never been to a convention before. Inevitably, they get in the lobby before they're even into the convention space. They're already smiling.
Oh, yeah.
They're pulling out their camera. They're taking pictures because you're surrounded by hundreds of people in costume.
Yes.
And they walk into the vendor room and their mouth drops open, and it's just fun. And once you're there, you're hooked. You're going to go to other conventions, and ours is especially affordable. We do it on purpose so we can. There's things to do for all ages, but we also keep it pretty family friendly, so you can bring your kids. We have a lot of Lego activities. We have a lot of things they can do, and people might be amazed to know that there's people that spend the whole weekend there. Literally, they'll be there for 15 hours straight on Saturday and just going. It's a lot of fun. We're really proud of it, and it's a great annual event. So it's at the Holiday Inn at the University of Memphis, November 10th through 12th. Oh, this is important. You can buy tickets in advance, which we highly recommend at 901 Tix. However, if you want to buy tickets on site, it's going to be cashless this year. So you got to pay with a credit card or debit card or whatever. But that's something new, but I feel like we better make that known. But it's a lot of fun. And Allan's even going to be there, set up with darkoakmedia.com. It's going to be cool. We hope to see you there. So a week and a half away. Holy smokes, man. Time goes by fast. Speaking of time going by fast, the show's over. We got to get out of here. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Maximilian.
And I'm Alan Gilbreth, reminding you that if you've never really gotten into Halloween before, keep it dark, keep it spooky, and, give it a good stab.